So hello everybody, welcome back to Law Hero. My name is Jen and I make videos about the law, specifically practicing law in Ireland, the process of becoming a solicitor in Ireland. And there's been two videos very heavily requested on my Instagram at Law Hero IRL, which are how to do the FE1s online now, and this one, which is online open book exams, which is the format many undergraduate law exams are being done at the moment, as well as PPC1 and PPC2. So broadly, that is the aim of this video, and I'm going to speak about a few other things as well, like handwriting or typing, plagiarism and the declaration you have to sign at the start to say you haven't plagiarized. That's all kind of tying into this. So yeah, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, because there's no other way you're going to find out if I have new videos or not. Okay, so a lot of you will have had exams before Christmas if you're undergrad, or indeed now in January. For PPC1, they're normally on in March time, and for PPC2, they are on in June for PPC2. So basically what will happen is the exam paper will be uploaded onto a platform and you'll be given a certain amount of time to complete it. And you'll probably also be given a certain amount of time at the start to allow for logging in and any technical difficulties you might have around the exam. Now, some universities are allowing people to write on A4 paper and then scan it in, but I think in this day and age that is a big no-no. So I know some people are a little bit technophobes or Luddites, but I think it's very important that you master how to type, because there will be some organizations like the Law Society which won't allow you to handwrite. So you might as well learn now what the right thing to do is. Also, when you type your notes, you can organize them far better. They're more concise. You can, copy and paste. You can fiddle around with formatting. You can really get your learning resources much more streamlined and organized than if you would if it was handwritten. I really do think now, especially with COVID, handwriting is just really gone. It's kind of like the nail in the coffin, I think, for handwriting. It's all about online now. So that'll be my first tip. Okay, the next thing I suppose a lot of people have been asking me is, how do open book exams? So when I say open book, so we've already dealt with online. When I say open book, you're allowed to have your materials with you, as in all the notes you've had from your semester. You're allowed to have books, whatever your learning materials are. This is perceived as an advantage, but it actually isn't, because the standard that is required of you is actually higher. And this is particularly so for PPC1, PPC2, but I mean also at undergraduate level as well. And this is because you're expected to know the law, and the skill is in applying what's in front of you, like a real solicitor or barrister. So don't be taken in by, oh, I don't have to study much, it's open book. I've heard that so many times, and I just have to laugh, because the only exam I ever failed in my life was open book. I failed employment law and PPC2 twice. I think I'm the only person to ever fail employment law twice. And I'm not proud of that, but I'm proud to say it, because it might give some of you some comfort. Because as some of you know, I did extremely well in the FE1, which is a rote learning. So, and I also did extremely well in other subjects on PPC1 and PPC2, very high 70 plus. But it was just with employment law, I just had a pure mental block. Focus on the ones you're not so good at would be my advice. So when it comes to open book online exam, what they're really testing is your organizational skills and your ability to pull together your resources in the deadlines, which is whatever, 30 minutes per question. So we'll say if you are studying equity law, you're in second year, I don't know, DCU or something like this, and your online exam pops up and you have to write an essay on, let me think, charitable trusts, that you're quickly able to find your charitable trust notes, not throw down everything you know about charitable trusts, because, or the Defamation Act if it's in tort, you know, you're not being asked on the general, you're probably being asked a specific area of that part of law, and they're testing your skill to see, can you hone in on what's being asked and put aside what's not relevant, be it in a problem or essay question. Yeah, and apply the information to the source in the question. So how do you go about preparing your resources? Well, when I was speaking to NUIG Galway before Christmas, I told them that I use Google Drive because I'm able to access it across all my platforms, and you can use Dropbox or whatever platform you want to use, so that I had access to them all the time, be it on my phone if I was on a bus, or if I was in the car I was able to look at my notes on my phone, but I also had it on the iPad and also on the MacBook. So that was where I kept my notes, and then I had folders. I mean, this is all very basic for you guys. Separate out your folders, separate like topic 1, 2, 3, 4, just like I have done with the Law Hero FE1 notes. And if you guys want to see how I break down topics, just go to lawhero.eu and you'll see how I've broken down every topics. But as long as it's some system in which you can navigate quickly, it doesn't matter. Sometimes people put page references and they highlight them, and then they have the page, will say in the Companies Act tabbed, so they go, okay, I need to go to page 244 of the Companies Act to find section 38. That's wrong, by the way, but it's just that it's like a navigation plan. It'd be like akin to when a pilot is plotting their route before they leave. They know where they're going along the way, they have their points to plot, and they know where the arrival is going to be so that they're not off course. For every small preparation you don't do around a question, you run the risk of failing even more. So yeah, you need to be able to identify key concepts and information. And by that, I mean, you have your sections of your, we'll say, Companies Act highlighted. If it's the Property Law Reform Act, you know where those are. You're able to get to your information quickly, and you're not panicking during the exam. You're not frantically scrambling through anything during the exam, because that's how you lose time. And you want to be spending the time in the exam analysing the question and answering it to your best ability, and reduce the time it takes for you to find the answer. So it's kind of like, you know, remember those quiz shows that were on RTE years ago on The Den, where this was before computers? They would give them like a rake of encyclopedias, and they would say, what's the longest river in China? And like, you'd have all the kids scrambling around all of these books, and they'd be looking at the back of the index. And that's a good example. An index is a way to plot where information is. So you just go, okay, index, rivers, and then you go to the river section, like, okay, China. So you're able to find it very quick, but at least it's a way that you can find it. Obviously, the big trick here is that you don't overload yourself with information, because the more information you have, the longer it's going to take you to find the right answer. So it means that you need to keep your sentences short, that your notes have to be very well organized with bullet points, that the key information just pops out at you, and you're not desperately, frantically pressing control and find in your PDFs, like going, oh my god, what the hell is section 38? I can't even find it, or, you know, that kind of a thing. You should be able to find your information quickly. And that means using headings, you know, that guide you through your notes, that are very understandable, that make sense, that are logical. There's a logical flow to how your notes go. They're not going back and forth. If you have cross-referencing, you can try and hyperlink. This is something I do when I'm making notes for myself. I hyperlink between, we'll say if it's a big document with 50 pages of an ebook, I'll hyperlink back to certain areas, which is really, really handy. And that also ties into how topics, you know, fall in together. And that's, you know, the really good students are able to look at a topic from an overall view, understand what the rationale of the topic is. You know, for example, if it's tort, you know, you're trying to compensate the victims of tort, which is, you know, it's non-contractual. It might be statutory, it might be non-statutory, or if it's, you know, criminal, it's public. It's a public law prosecution, you know, to keep the public safe. If it's company law, you're trying to protect creditors, you're trying to make sure the capital isn't withdrawn prematurely. You know, they'll understand the rationale behind the subject, and that will guide them in their answers, and it will guide their notes because they've understood the basics, and then everything else is just detail which they can call upon if they need. That to me is an ideal student. So obviously your study won't be learning things by heart, it'll be making sure you're familiar with your notes so you're not wasting time during the exam. There's really no point in anticipating questions. Obviously looking at past papers is a wonderful way to prepare yourself, but don't waste your time looking into a crystal ball because it's outside of your control. Obviously, make sure you're in a really quiet place with a good internet connection. Make sure you've eaten, and make sure you shouldn't have to go to the bathroom. I think that's just a waste of time. Don't drink too much water, don't drink too much coffee beforehand because coffee's a diuretic. When your source, so you won't have to use references like you would in an essay, but we'll say if you are quoting an academic author, you know, you'll say like, McDermott said in contract law, rather than you saying it off the bat and claiming it as your own, or according to Judge blah 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 in the carbolic smoke ball or something like that. Make sure you don't pass anything off on your own, because remember, you've signed a plagiarism declaration if you're in an undergraduate law. If you're in PPC, PPC 1 or 2, this is even more important that you're organized, because you have such a wealth of information you've gone through throughout the year, throughout your tutorials. You also have slides. Work out what's best for you. A lot of people, so the thing with slides is slides are what's important to the lecturer. Okay, so the slides are the main ideas they have picked out as important. So I personally like to mix the slides with my tutorial notes, because then I can figure out what's important to the lecture and what's not really important, because obviously the syllabus is very broad, but you know, if you want to be crafty, you can use the slides as, you know, your North Star, and then the tutorial stuff will supplement that. That's kind of what I did, and that's what most of my friends did, and it really, really works, because then you know you're covering what the lecturer actually wants, and then you have the tutorial notes to back it up. Okay, so yeah, I think I've covered most bases. The next video is going to be the FE1 online, which is different because it's not an open book exam, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next one.